Midnight pressed against the windows, thick and unyielding. The world outside was hushed, as if holding its breath. Inside, the air was heavy with secrets. Every shadow stretched long and deep. Daniel's shift began as it always did. Alone, unseen, a silent guardian of empty halls. The building seemed to settle around him, old bones creaking in the dark. Each night he moved through the same rituals, footsteps echoing in the void. The hum of distant lights, the faint scent of old paper and floor polish, all familiar. Yet tonight, something in the silence felt different, expectant, watchful. Daniel's senses sharpened, every sound magnified, every shadow a question. The night was alive with possibility, and Daniel was its only witness. Daniel was a man of routine, patrolling Northwood University's empty halls each night. The silence and darkness were his comfort, the squeak of his shoes and the jingle of keys his only company. He knew every creak, every flicker, every cold spot in the building. Tonight, as always, he walked the philosophy corridor, 12 doors left, 12 right, and a solid brick wall at the end. But tonight, the wall was different. His flashlight caught the outline of a door, dark, handleless, impossible. Daniel froze, heart pounding, the familiar world suddenly strange. The silence grew heavy, charged with a question he couldn't answer. He stepped closer, drawn by a mix of fear and curiosity. The door seemed to drink in the light, a void where only brick should be. He reached out, breath held, and touched the cold, smooth surface. The night was no longer predictable. The air around him seemed to thicken, as if the corridor itself was holding its breath. Daniel's hand tingled with cold, a chill that crept up his arm and settled in his chest. He glanced over his shoulder, half expecting to see someone, or something, watching from the shadows. The silence was now oppressive, pressing in on him from all sides. A faint, almost imperceptible hum began to vibrate through the floor, as if the building itself was waking up. Daniel's mind raced, searching for explanations, but none made sense. The door, impossibly dark, seemed to pulse with a life of its own. He tried to recall if he'd ever seen anything like it before, but his memory offered only blankness. The familiar hallway felt warped, stretched by the presence of this impossible threshold. Daniel's flashlight flickered, the beam wavering as if repelled by the door's surface. He took a step back, heart hammering, but the urge to flee warred with a strange compulsion to stay. The keys in his hand felt suddenly heavy, their jangle now a discordant warning. A cold draft curled around his ankles, carrying with it the scent of old paper and something else, something ancient and metallic. Daniel realized he was holding his breath, lungs burning as if the air itself had become dangerous to inhale. In that moment he understood. The rules of the night had changed, and he was no longer alone. Daniel blinked, hoping the door would vanish, but it remained, real and wrong. He pressed his hand to the wood. It was cold, slick, ancient. He pushed, expecting resistance, but the door swung open silently, revealing a darkness deeper than night. A strange, sweet, unsettling scent drifted out. Dust, old paper, wilted flowers. His flashlight's beam was swallowed by the blackness. Every instinct screamed to leave, but curiosity rooted him in place. He stepped inside. The door closed behind him with a soft, final sigh. The air grew colder, the silence thick and listening. He raised his light, its beam trembling in the vast, waiting dark. Daniel was inside, and the world he knew was gone. Daniel found himself in a library, endless shelves of dark, unmarked books stretching into shadow. The scale was impossible, the silence broken only by the faint whisper of unseen pages turning. The air was thick with the scent of ancient paper, suffocating and strange. Every book was bound in black leather, anonymous and identical. A brass plaque read, "The Library of the Unreturned." The name sent a chill through him. Unreturned what? He felt watched, the books like silent witnesses. The library was a repository for lost things, or perhaps lost people. A compulsion pulled him deeper, aisles twisting, the entrance vanishing behind him. The whispering grew louder, almost forming words. Daniel realized he was lost in a place that should not exist. On a low shelf, Daniel saw a single book with a name, his own. Heart pounding, he pulled it free. It was heavy, cold, intimate. He opened it and read. Daniel Miller was born on a Tuesday in the rain. Every detail of his life was there. Childhood, fears, heartbreaks, his lonely patrols. The book knew everything, even his thoughts and forgotten memories. He flipped ahead, finding the present moment described in real time. The words mirrored his actions, his panic, his discovery of the door. He read, he sits in a strange library, a book with his name in his hands. The book was writing his life as he lived it. He was a character in his own story, reading the script as it unfolded. Frantically, he turned to the end. The last page was mostly blank except for one chilling sentence. It read, "He will not leave the library." Daniel stared at the final sentence, a death sentence, not a prediction. Panic surged. He slammed the book shut and ran, desperate to escape. The shelves shifted, the aisles twisted, always leading him back to his book. He found other books, Sarah Jenkins, Thomas Reed, Amelia Vance, each ending the same. They will not leave the library. He was not the first. The library was a collector, luring people in, recording their lives, keeping them as stories. The words, "He will not leave the library," echoed in his mind. He tried to fight, but the library was a living maze, a thinking trap. Every attempt to escape brought him back to his own story. The library was patient, inevitable. He was becoming one of the unreturned. The narrative was closing around him. The story was almost over. Despair replaced panic as Daniel realized the library was erasing him. He tried to scream, but the silence devoured his voice. His radio was dead, his connection to the world gone. Memories of his life faded, apartment, crossword, plant, blurring like old photographs. He felt himself becoming a story, not a man. The weight of his keys, the feel of his uniform, props for a character, not a person. The will to fight drained away, replaced by calm resignation. He returned to his book, picked it up and turned to the last page. New words appeared as he watched. He picks up the book. He accepts his fate. He sits down, leans against a shelf and waits to become part of the story. The library was inevitable. The book was right. Daniel Miller was now a story on a shelf. The last thing Daniel saw was the endless library, the shelves, the silence. He faded, body to idea, memory to narrative. In the real world, he vanished. No logbook entry, no apartment, no payroll record. The wall was solid again. There had never been a door. The university slept, unaware of the secret it harbored. Inside the library of the Unreturned, a new book sat on a high shelf, dark, unmarked, indistinguishable from the rest. If opened, it told the story of a man who found a door that wasn't there. The story was complete, the final page filled, the last line. And so he didn't. He became a whisper, a story, a volume in the library of the Unreturned. The library waited, patient for the next curious soul, and a new book would begin.